Man, oh man, guys. It's been raining for 2 days and 2 nights. And boy, do I have the blues. And what do I do to take those blues away, you ask? I get into my kitchen and I whip myself up a good old-fashioned blueberry cobbler. So let's get into the kitchen and make one of these babies. Okay, so what you're going to need for this recipe is a half a cup of unsalted butter. In this bowl here, I have 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of granulated sugar, the zest of 1 lemon. Next to that, you're going to need 2 cups of blueberries, a little bit of pure vanilla extract, the juice of 1 lemon, and a little bit of white rum. And of course, 1 cup of whole milk. Don't go using 2% or 1% for this recipe, guys. 3.25. Okay, is what you're going to need. So, what you got to do now is preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Get your 10-inch cast iron skillet with the butter, with that half cup of unsalted butter in the oven. Melt it down. Mix your dry ingredients. Then add your wet to your dry. Pour the concoction in the pan. Add your blueberries and bake for about half an hour to 40 minutes. Let's get to it. Okay guys, here we go. So what I like to do, I'm going to take my dry ingredients that I explained before, scaff all these into a bigger bowl here, and I like to use a whisk. You can use an electric mixer if you want. I prefer doing this by hand. This way I can feel the consistency of my batter. I just mix all that stuff in there. On my flour, my sugar, baking powder, lemon zest, a little bit of salt. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pour in my milk. Very, very easy recipe. And I just love blueberry cobbler. Only problem I have, and I'm sure you guys are the same, I always wanted to make one with fresh berries, ones that I pick out in the wild. Problem is, I can never manage to get back home with my pickings. I always seem to eat them before I can get them into this batter here to make my blueberry cobbler. Anyway, mix this thing nice and smooth. You can pour in your vanilla. I like to use pure vanilla extract. You can use a vanilla bean if you want. Entirely up to you. I use the extract. Now is when I'm going to pour in my lemon juice. I don't want to pour in my lemon juice directly after I do the milk. I wouldn't want it to curdle. Mix all that stuff up here until she's nice and mixed. Nice and smooth. No lumps. Add your rum. That's enough. And the rum is optional, by the way, guys. You see, I leave a little bit of rum left. And what I'm going to do with this little bit, I put about an ounce of rum in the whole thing. So I put like a half an ounce in the batter. And then when it's almost ready, I just drizzle a little bit. I just drizzle the rest on top of the cobbler once it's almost nice and brown. Mix it all up. She's nice and mixed. I'm going to leave her alone. Our berries are nice and fresh, although they're not from the forest. But you know, they'll do. What can you do? So we're going to let our butter melt down, and then we're going to continue. So stay with me, guys. So we removed our melted butter from the oven, and you don't want to burn this. Although even if it gets a little bit burnt, you get a little dark spots here and there, it's okay because it gives that cobbler a little bit of bitterness, which I don't mind. My kids and wife don't like that, but it doesn't really bother me. And you might think that you have a lot of butter here, but you have to understand, cobbler needs butter. Butter is goodness, guys. It might not be good for the heart, but it's definitely good for the stomach. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to give this another little whisk here. Get our whisk out of the way. And just pour all this goodness into our pan. Make sure you get every last bit of it. Like I said before, super easy recipe, and I'm telling you, you won't have any leftovers. Like you serve this baby with a little creme fraiche or you know, unsweetened whipped cream, and sure is a winner. Get this out of the way. I like to just kind of move it around a bit, and then what I like to do is take my blueberries and just let them fall all over the place in here. Now this recipe calls for 2 cups of blueberries. Don't go crazy and start adding more blueberries than what it calls for, because you're not going to get that chewiness that you want to attain from a blueberry cobbler. Make sure that they go all over the place. Another thing you can do if you want, you can put half of your portion of blueberries now, although I just dump all of them in. I don't have an issue with that. And they'll just go down to the bottom, you know, push them down a bit here. And like I said, you could have put just part of your blueberry portion in there, and then halfway through, take it out and, you know, put the rest. So this is what she looks like in the raw stage. We're going to take this pan now, we're going to put it in our oven. We're going to set our timer to 30 minutes. And we're going to check up on it. And another thing, you don't go opening and closing your oven when you're doing this, because you'll screw things up. You put it in your oven, and you leave it alone. Touche pas. See you guys in 30. And 30 minutes later, this is what it's all about, people. Now you tell me if this looks good or not. And for those of you who are saying, well, you know, this ain't bushcraft. Well, it would have been if I had picked my own berries. Problem is, I can't bring them home. I eat them before they get here. Cast iron skillet, blueberry cobbler. And now we're just going to pour in the rest of this rum. Let this baby sit for about an hour and a half. And indulge. Bon appetit!